is God, that darkness is God, that there is only that one source, there is only that one energy that is everywhere present. And it is both the light and the dark. It is both the up and the down. It is male and female and everything in between. And what I know is that that is everywhere present, and it is an energy of divine love. It's an energy that always is forever giving of itself. It's giving of itself in love. And it accepts everything that is part of it as love, even though the appearance may be different. And so how grateful I am for knowing that that's what my life is, and how grateful I am for knowing that it is the life of everyone on this call. That every single one of us here is one with as God, that God is in, around, and through each one of us. That there is no separation between that divine energy and our own being. And so I just am so very blessed to be here. I'm so blessed that we have this time together. And I just am so grateful, so very grateful for this Wednesday night, for everyone who shows up, for the camaraderie, for the deep thoughts, for the insights that people are so willing to share. And I'm just so very grateful for all of that. And so please join me in saying, and so it is. So as I know you all know, yesterday was the winter solstice, the official winter solstice. But the reality is that we are still in the dark of winter. That yesterday was officially the longest night and the shortest day. And today we get 2 seconds more of daylight than we had yesterday. And the farther north you live, the faster the light comes back. And that's because there's more that needs to come back. So for example, in Vancouver, where I used to live, daylight's coming back by 3 seconds per day. But on the other hand, during the dead of winter in British Columbia, I would go to work at 7 o'clock in the dark, and I'd come home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the dark. So once we reach February 2nd, which is in bulk our Groundhog's Day, the light comes back twice as fast, and we start to notice it. So can you show that slide, John? And I'll just show you this wheel of the year. So the wheel of the year, there's the winter and the summer solstice, and then there's the 2 equinoxes, and those 4 sort of form the 4 hubs of the wheel of the year. And then we've got the cross quarter days. So that Imbolc, which is February the 2nd, that's when we really start to notice the light, because it starts to come back twice as much. So thank you, John. And so for me, this is a time to be still, a time to reflect, a time to listen, a time to catch my breath. Not that I've been able to do it this year, not at least right at this time, but I am so looking forward to doing that next week. And I think if anyone heard Reverend Catherine speak a few weeks ago, one of the things she said was how, even though this is a time when our natural rhythm is to go inward, our social life gets busier and busier and busier. So we actually somehow work against ourselves. So the ancestors from my lineage in Western Europe believed that, they knew that there was no separation. They knew that there was oneness. And so that one of the sayings was, as above, so below. So as we go inward, as the sun goes lower in the sky, and the days get colder, that is a time for us to actually have a time of reflection, a time to go inward, a time to actually reflect and to look at what it is that we want to bring forth into the new year. Um, so one of the things that I've always find really interesting is the paradox, and it's not always easy to see it as much in California, but as the days start to lengthen, even though if it's only by 2 seconds a day, the earth gets colder. So in other parts of the United States and in the world that is in the northern hemisphere, this is when you get the biggest snowstorms, that you get frost. Often in other parts of the world, the snow doesn't even start to show up until after the solstice. So that is interesting to me, that paradox is going on, that the days are getting longer and the earth is getting colder. So, and yet one of the things that is true about the solstice is that it's a turning point. So it's a turning point where we can, even though we're still in a hibernation mode in many ways, it is a time when the seeds underground are starting to have activity. They're starting to gain their nurture from the earth so that they can then start moving upwards as the light comes back. And depending on where we are in North America, it depends on when that happens. So I just want to do a little bit of background. The symbolism in much of the Western world right now, there's a symbolism of the light conquering the darkness. And that's something that has been prevalent in science of mind as well as in other religions. And it's common to all the hero myths from the late Bronze Age onward. But before the Bronze Age, and long before that, in the lunar goddess cultures, the sun was born from the moon, his mother or heavenly cow, and darkness was not then hostile, but the condition of rebirth. It was a place of fertility. So one of the things that's interesting is when you're reading daily guides, or when you're reading literature, and when you're studying, pay attention to how authors refer to darkness and the kind of darkness, so that, often we talk about, sometimes we talk about the darkness of quiet, and we also talk about dark times as if it's a difficult time. And yet all of that is very fertile time. So it was in the late Bronze Age that the idea of the underworld with connotations of lifelessness, darkness, and menace first arose. But before that, that wasn't even a concept. So this means that we had approximately 270,000 years of consciousness where darkness was associated with fertility and birth, and about 2,000 years of consciousness where darkness becomes something to be overcome. I have noticed that in our own philosophy and science of mind that we are really shifting on that, that there's been a much greater emphasis on a balancing between light and dark, a recognition that both are critical to the whole. It isn't an either or, it's a both and a shift away from the dark being menacing into a recognition of dark as fertile and lush with possibility. Yet those newer old ideas of dark as something that is something you want to avoid are still linger in our race consciousness, or our cultural consciousness, the collective belief system. So as we go into the ritual tonight, I want you to pay attention to any ideas of dark as less than that come up for you. Not that it's bad to have them, but just pay attention, because it's when you see them that then you can start to shift them. So the ritual we're going to do tonight is actually a visioning. And in our tradition, this is a spiritual practice and a ritual. It's a time of very deep listening. I will lead you into a meditation. It's going to be a slightly different meditation than we usually do with visioning, but this is solstice, so we can do whatever we want. And from that place of quiet and possibility, I'll ask you a few questions. So listen deeply to the first answers, images, and feelings that arise for you. You might want paper and pencil with you, because sometimes people like to come in and out of the quiet and make notes as I ask the questions. Other people just don't like to do that, so do whatever works for you. So what I'd like you to do now is just take a deep breath. And as you exhale, follow your breath deep, deep into the heart cavern at the center of your being. And when you get there, I want you to imagine and to know that you're standing at the edge of a forest, that it's twilight, that the light is slowly disappearing, and that there's a path that leads you into this forest, and you start down the path. And as you go in between, the trees are arching in, and their branches are making heart shapes. And you, even though it's dark and you can barely see in front of you, you can hear the trees whispering to you that they love you, that they're there for you. And as you come deeper and deeper into that dark forest, you can feel that darkness surrounding you like a blanket that is a blanket of warmth and a blanket of love. And you continue to walk into the forest, knowing that you're safe, knowing that you are loved, knowing that you are in the forest of love. And it's so dark now you can't even see your face, your hand in front of your face, and yet you confidently know that you're on the right path. And then you come to a clearing. You can't even see the clearing, but you know it's there. And in that clearing, there's a place for you to sit, a place that's comfortable. And you sit yourself down. And you just allow that darkness to surround you, to massage you, to love you. And you just sit in that silence for just a few minutes. You just sit there and absorb it. And while you're sitting there in that darkness, you can just see if you can sense the possibilities that surround you, the fertility, the richness that lives in that darkness. Just see if you can sense that. So you open your eyes, and out of that darkness, that total darkness, you start to see twinkling lights like fireflies. First there's one, and then there's two, and then they're they start to just expand, and they're all around you. And it's just a time. It's just total delight to see those sparkling lights, and then those lights start to come together, and they move off down through the forest, and you can see that they becoming, that what they are becoming is the beginning of a new dawn. And even though you know that you're still sitting in the darkness, you know that dawn is coming. And so just do deep listening, and I want to ask you the question: what is God's vision of itself as your new dawn? What is wanting to be reborn in your life? Just allow yourself to sit in that darkness and listen. So what is God's vision of itself as your new dawn? What is wanting to be reborn in your life? So ask those questions once more. What is God's vision of itself as your new dawn? What is wanting to be reborn in your life? And now I ask the question, what is wanting to be released? What are you releasing at this time of the dark? What are you willing to leave behind? To let go of what no longer serves you? Because as you release it, it will drop into this place of fertile darkness where it too can be um, transformed and reborn. You need to release it first. So what are you willing to release? So I ask the question, as this light of the new dawn is growing within you, what are you becoming? What is wanting, how is it that you are to be in this time of the new dawn, in your new dawn? How are you to be? What are you to be? What are you becoming as you are reborn? Now the last question I'm going to ask is, what blessings and gratitudes are you bringing into this new dawn? What blessings and gratitudes are you bringing with you as you are reborn? So as you get up from the place you've been sitting and you move towards that tiny light, that light, that those sparkling lights, whether they were fireflies or whatever they were in your vision, where they have coalesced in the, you start walking towards that, and as you walk towards that, you slowly bring yourself back into the present, into your new dawn. So just walk towards that light now, knowing that darkness is always there, that richness is always there, that that's also a part of who and what you are. So when you're ready, you might want to take a few notes, take a few minutes and journal about what came up for you, and pay attention to what surprised you. Was there anything that surprised you? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into breakout rooms. You're going to go into breakout rooms with another person. And what I'd like you to share in that breakout room is I'd like you to share not only what came up for you in the vision, but also what surprised you. So Peggy, are you able to get the breakout rooms?
You want me to do them? I thought you wanted to do them. How many breakout rooms? Let's see.
Oh, I can do them. It doesn't make any difference.
I pulled it up. Create.
Well, there's 17 people on the call, so that is 16. That's 8 breakout rooms.
Okay. Okay, got it. Assign automatically.
Yep.
Okay, creating right now.
Okay.
Okay. Shall I open them?
Yes, please.
All right.
For those of you, yeah, okay, good. All right. Alice, you can go into a breakout room.
Do you want me to put Alice in one? Or she did.
Yeah. Now we can pause the recording.
Okay, I'm going to pause right now.
Again. Okay. So now let's do some shares. I'd like to hear what surprises showed up for you, and what insights you got from doing that, if any. Well, you don't have to share if you didn't get any, but if you have something that would be great to have you share. So you can raise your hand, or Judith, unmute yourself.
There it goes. So I have to say, this is maybe the very first time that I have looked at just the word dark or darkness. I am accustomed to talking about, in my history, to talking about dark times. And that has sort of put it just put a feeling tone on the concept of dark. But what I got out of the meditation, actually it's not a meditation, I did suddenly feel that it might be possible to find blessings in the darkness, and actually in the dark times, that I might is so I can work on remembering in the midst of it. It seems dark, and I can work on remembering who I am and whose I am. And the one thing about the dark that you led us into, it didn't feel strange. It felt safe. Mm-hmm. It was a safe place to be. And yeah, there was more, but I didn't get it all down. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thank you for this wonderful visioning journey. I felt similar in the safety aspect of that descent. It was done so well. I think the trees whispering and that they love us was just so perfect, because I think people forget that nature thinks about us as we think about nature. And I really, the fellow that I was in the breakout with, Jack, he and I both felt a lot of affinity with the fireflies, and he can talk about it if he wishes. But I also felt that they were creating for me a new form for myself, like they were going to coalesce, as you mentioned, into a form of a new iteration of myself. And so it was a very gentle, and I didn't want to leave. And I think both of us who were in the breakout place were feeling that we didn't want you to leave us. Leave us, don't leave, let us, we didn't want to leave the forest.
Well, you're welcome to go back anytime.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I think Alice Knudsen, you had your hand up too, correct?
Unmute,
You're muted.
unmute.
So for me, I feel like I've been in the darkness for probably before I came to this church, because I have had a whole series of deaths in my life. And 4 years ago, my father died. And it's been 4 years now on January 7th. And I'm in the prac class. I forget the other name for it, Advanced Consciousness Studies. And I got really sick, and I realized I had to get sick in order for God to grab hold of me and tell me to let go and open up. And I have never been so grateful in my life. I am not taking my life for granted. I feel more alive in the new year, and what this ritual is pointing out to me is to be what surprised me, fiercely present. That kind of blew me away. That one, I don't even know if fiercely is really a word or not. And I feel grateful for all the spiritual teachers I've had, for all the spiritual lessons I have, for my health. And I am no longer going to allow myself to isolate and feel sorry for myself anymore. And I just feel like a whole new person. And that was so beautiful. I love the trees whispering, I love you too. That one just like, I'm like, wow, Constance, you just hit the pot of gold on that one. So thank you so much. And I met a new person. I met Shastran, I believe is how she pronounces her name, and she works with the children. So this whole exercise was just delightful. And the lesson, the takeaway is, don't be afraid of the dark, because the light, you can see the light the most when you're in the dark, when you're in the darkness. So I love you all, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. I'm complete.
Blessing. Yeah, it really is. In my life experience, it is those hard times, those dark times, that allow me to be who I am now. That I would be someone totally different if I hadn't had those. And so while they might not have been fun at the time, they certainly they were there for a reason. So anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Jack Frost, I'd love to hear about the fireflies if you're willing to share. Also known as John. John likes to change his name whenever he's on Zoom.
I knew you were gonna call me out. No, I really liked that part. I identified with that part. It, especially like, because it was like at the end I was like really getting into it, and then you're like, okay, now talk. It's like, no. But for me, it was just like the visualization was just, it was just a really nice wrap up, because it was just like kind of like the forest, accepting kind of that intention, or that like the goal or something that you're sort of like setting, that we had just set when we were like sitting in the forest. And for me at least, like the it was like the fireflies sort of like wrapped around me, kind of like entered like my heart chakra kind of thing, and just sort of felt like both like cleansed and energized, but also just like, I don't know, just it's a real hopefulness kind of feeling, for that new something, that new dawn kind of thing you're talking about. And it was just, I don't know, it was a really great feeling. Good meditation, Constance. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone care to share about what they're becoming? What they're being called to become in this new dawn, or what they're releasing?
I'll go ahead. What I'm becoming, I thought was very interesting that the word solid came to mind, more solid in my steps. Oh, am I unmuted? Am I muted? No. More solid in my step, more of myself, which was an interesting thing to think about for me, because I don't really focus much of my attention on my growth. And so I will say, though, that there was a warm feeling throughout the whole thing, Constance. It was warm. And as Constance and I were talking, because we were partnered up, the darkness, I hadn't thought about the darkness in any other way other than the collective consciousness way of, oh, it's the darkness is a time of, terrible hardships, and it doesn't always have to be. One of the things that came to mind was that in the womb, it's dark in the womb, and yet the beauty of the birth, it comes from the darkness of the womb. To think about that, and to have a whole new slant on darkness being something that is so giving, so nurturing, so energizing, as opposed to something that it's not, was really a delightful feeling that came over me. And as far as the blessings, the gratitudes, I was recognizing something in myself. As I was sitting in the forest, I was actually sitting, and it had to do with a sense of service, and a sense of confidence and compassion. And so I kind of, it brought me into me, and into some awarenesses that I haven't been consciously thinking about. So thank you, Constance.
And I think the thing about the womb and the birth, if you think about, when an infant is in the womb, they're totally fed. They're floating in this beautiful liquid. They're hearing the heartbeat of their mother all the time, and how it might be really enticing to just stay there. And yet there is that impulse that happens to get out, and it's not an easy journey to get through that birth canal.
Right.
And that is, and yet that is what we do. We do that, even though it is a very comforting place, and
Yeah.
so. Anyone else before we turn it back over to Mr. Prasuti?
I thought I saw Judith. Did Judith Roberts, did you have your hand up for a second there? Oh, okay.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Jerry.
It was, I just wanted to share, I'm sorry I had a interruption, so I wasn't able to fully participate. But what I realized, and my partner Judith Frauenglass and I had a really good share. And what I really, what I really was appreciating is in the darkness, there is the stillness. And in the stillness is when I feel more connected and closer to God. And during the day, although I can make quiet time to be still, there's more distractions. So for me, I really appreciate the darkness, especially when I wake up in the middle of the night and it's quiet and still. And I can just step into that knowingness that I am, divinely surrounded and guided, and I can say my affirmations and take care of myself and become uplifted, knowing that spirit is surrounding me. So that's part of what came up for me, and the stillness, the darkness equates to stillness for me. And well, thank you, Constance.
Great, you're welcome. So, well, I'm going to turn this back over to our maestro, Paul Presutti.
Well, let's thank Constance first, because we all got something great out of this. Thank you, Constance, so much. You delivered as promised, rich, intimate, and informal. I thought, I'm going to take us just a second. I had Judith Roberts as my partner, and poor Judith didn't get to say anything very much because it was really profound for me. As the host, I don't play in the exercises a lot, but I thought, it's the holiday season. I'll just let it go, and play a little bit. But it was very profound. And I want to thank you, Constance, for how you fit so much goodness, activity into such a short period of time. That was a really excellent presentation. So I personally want to thank you for that. And I know everybody on the call feels that way too. It was pretty evident. So some announcements real fast, John, if you're ready, we can start running those. And coming up on Sunday, December 26th, our own Reverend Jerry Carter, who's with us tonight, will be speaking on the light of a new dawn. So join us physically and in person in the sanctuary, or you can watch the service live on live stream or YouTube this coming Sunday. Our in-person meditation is at 10, and the service will start at 10:30. And please know that if you will be joining us on Sunday or anytime at the center in person, everyone is required to wear a mask inside all of our buildings, and we will be practicing social distancing. Next Wednesday, and I can't believe I'm saying this for the 5th year in a row, is the last Wednesday of this year. And no better than it's also a 5th Wednesday. And this is and Reverend Jerry, what's funny about this month is Wednesday night started our theme, and that was with Judith Roberts on the 1st of December. And Wednesday is our last service of the month. So Wednesdays took the lead and is closing the door on December. And 5th Wednesday on top of that. So it means it's practitioner Christopher Brown. And his topic will be finding light within the darkness. Perfect way to end our Wednesday nights for this year. Our meditation is at 6:30 and service at 7. Wednesday services are continuing on Zoom. Don't forget, this Friday is our candle lighting service, which will take place at 7 o'clock. That's Christmas Eve, December 24th. You can join us for a sacred evening of reading, song, and light in the sanctuary, or by live stream and YouTube. We will be streaming it. There'll be light refreshments afterwards in the social hall. It's Board of Trustees application time. Have you been a member in good standing for 2 years and have been thinking about serving the village in a new way? The nominations committee is looking for qualified candidates to run for the Board of Trustees at the annual meeting on March 4th. Applications are due to Deborah Jackson by December 31st. To check out the qualifications and responsibilities, you can go to our webpage and download the application, or you can check for it in the Village News, or you can pick up a copy in the lobby on Sunday. Our COM group, Compassion and Attention to Lost Ministry, will be meeting not this Sunday, but a week from Sunday on January 2nd at 12:45 in person and on Zoom. Zoe and his team will be discussing the idea of grief is a beginning. Now save the date. We talked about it last Wednesday and on Sunday, and we're gearing you up to get ready for the Vision Board Party. And that will be held on Saturday, January 15th in 2022, both in person and Zoom. It'll be a hybrid event. We can only have 30 people in the social hall in person, but you can attend digitally. We can put 30 there or more. So registration will open on Sunday, December 26th. And check for that on our events page and get registered, particularly if you want to be in the physical room. Again, there'll be only 30 slots available in the room. Now, I said at the beginning that we are in a state of transition and we have a lot of information to share with you. But this is an important ritual that we're conducting right now at the center. And I ask you to join me in reading along our new minister covenant. I'm going to ask you to leave your microphones muted, but definitely read along. My new minister sacred covenant prayer. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. I'm knowing that I am one with this life that is God. I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to reveal spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God as wisdom. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by Spirit, for it is written, I am filled with divine wisdom. I allow divine mind to fill my mind now. As I stand in an agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as unity in the community. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspiring unity in diversity, embracing and nourishing our community. I am awakening the wisdom within. I am healing and expanding our community with the power of love. I am engaging the community in building a world that works for everyone. I am deepening family consciousness. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they are revealed in a way that illumines spirit and serves the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful. God is gracious. And so it is. Ashe. So I breathe that in and release it. And I'm grateful in this moment to know that we have moved into that phase of calling in our new senior minister. Thank you for joining me in this ritual. And now it's another ritual of ours to prepare our offerings. We're so blessed at the center. We have so much going on here and so many fruits on the tree that I take from and enjoy. And I know that requires me to give back. And in doing so, I get more. So that's the idea of reciprocity or reciprocation, the rule of you know what I mean. It goes around and around. So as we say in our affirmation, take your gift, hold it close to your heart, and say, this gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. So I release it, and I release it to our keepers at the center that manage those things and nourish those things that keep our center open and bright and clean. And then I see it going outside of the gates and into the world and multiplying and then returning back to us in good favor. Now, how can you participate in this law of circulation? Well, you can go to our homepage where everything lives these days to donate with a credit card or use the address listed there to mail in a donation. You can text it to 510-327-3431. You can also use Zelle, and that's a new way to give money in the new way of doing things. And the Zelle donation location is giving@oaklandcsl.org. But there's a fifth way also. If you join us in person on Fridays, on Sunday, or we'll be doing it Friday night a little bit too, Christmas time, Hanukkah time, Kwanzaa time, solstice time on Friday night. You can drop an offering there, or if you join us on Sundays, we have an offering basket there. So it's my time now to give thanks, not only for the many, many things that we have and all the opportunities to give and receive, but to thank the folks that make this Wednesday night service so intimate, informal, and rich. I want to thank our hostess behind the scenes tonight, Peggy. And I want to thank John, AKA Jack Frost, for helping on the PowerPoint. The ever-present Alice, always taking care of us on spotlighting. I had Zoe in the background tonight helping us out with recording and muting. And I think that's the whole team in the background. I want to thank Constance again for the beautiful, beautiful work she did tonight. Took us into sacred space in a true sense of the way. So thank you, Constance. And I want to thank Reverend Jerry for being here. She's been here consistently as our acting senior minister, and it's always a joy to have her here. So thank you, Reverend Jerry, for supporting me. It supports me a lot knowing you're here. I have to be on in my good frame of mind, but you bring the best out in me, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you for shepherding us during this time. Alice, I see you just came on, Alice Knudsen, and I wanted to say your background is what I saw when I went into the meditation. You're like at the edge of the forest. So when we came back and we saw everybody, I went, oh, that's what I saw in my head was your background. So thanks for that. It gave me a vision. A visual for my visioning. So thank you all for attending so much. I'm very grateful. And Constance, if you're ready, it's time to close us out in prayer.
Yes, I'd be glad to do that. So,
Thank you.
So how good it is to know, that God is right here, right now. That God is all there is, and that God is that divine love that is loving always, 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 always. How good that is to know. And how good it is to know that that's who and what my life is. And that that's the life of everyone on this call. And so I just speak my word, and I just claim that all the visions, all of the insights that came forth for everyone here on the call tonight are already coming into fruition. That all that is being left behind has been left behind with ease and grace. All that is becoming with ease and grace. And that the gratitudes and the blessings just multiply and expand for everyone on this call. And so I just am so grateful for knowing this truth. I'm so grateful for knowing this truth. And so I just let it go because God has it. God has it in the dark. God has it in the light. God has it wherever God is, and God is doing what God does with it, which is only to say yes. And so please join me in saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Mhm.